that.
You know, based on all of your answers to me, it sounds like you don't believe Democrats did anything wrong. You believe if you don't do well, it's simply you had bad messaging or you didn't communicate it right. Is that your basic take here?
Well, first of all, neither you or I know what's going to happen on Tuesday, so what do you say we wait to see? But secondly, look, what I'm telling you is we're not perfect, but we are responsible adults who didn't attack the Capitol on January 6th, didn't try to whitewash it. Don't pretend we're for law enforcement and then ignore 140 cops getting beat up on that horrible day. We're not perfect, but we've got a plan for gun violence and for bringing jobs back from China. You don't like it? What's yours? We took on the big drug companies. The other side won't do that because they're awash in big drug company money. No, we're not perfect, Chuck. We've got all kinds of things we can do better. But we are responsible adults who believe in this democracy and who are fighting for a better future.
Sean.
China has completely de-emphasized privacy and freedom of movement during the pandemic. In the brain of Shanghai's Pudong district, every suspected COVID-19 case is monitored.
We installed a network of sensors in front of apartments. When the door's sensor registers people leaving the apartment in violation of the rules, we're alerted. District staff and the health department are then informed and can respond quickly.
What's technologically possible is carried out with little regard for people's privacy. Criticism or resistance among the population is virtually non-existent.
We've mapped the residential buildings in the district. Which ones are occupied? Where there are vacancies? Where elderly people are living alone? Where care or help is needed? It's all stored in our system and can be called up in real time.
Even those who do not dispose of their trash properly are recorded. Residents who aren't following the rules are captured on camera from 3 different angles. The so-called brain acts swiftly. Whether it's an illegally parked car or unsolicited advertising, offences can be handled by patrol officers who are connected to the control centre via a mobile app.
As soon as the squads and volunteers in residential districts spot an issue, they can report it and upload footage. They take a photo, report the issue, and then our system automatically decides which department to forward the matter to.
That not only was I banned from speaking at a peace rally in Amsterdam on Sunday, but actually I was going to also be banned from the 26 European countries of the so-called Schengen group. People need just to look at this situation and ask, why is this so-called all-powerful, omnipotent system of national and global institutions so terrified of one guy? What you're seeing here is not omnipotent power expressing itself and imposing itself. You're seeing panic over one man and what he's got to say. But also it makes a statement about where the real power lies. People look at authority, and they look at these governments and their institutions and all this stuff, and they immediately think, well, that's where the power is. If it were, it wouldn't be frightened of me. It's hanging to its perceived power by a thread, and that thread is stopping the population knowing what's really going on. Because when it does in enough numbers, its game is over. Because a few people can't control 8 billion unless the 8 billion acquiesce to it. This, I hope, this situation that's just happening now will just show people and confirm to people, if this authority, global national authority, was all powerful, then it wouldn't be frightened of me. But it is, because it isn't powerful at all. It's just another confidence trick, another mind trick to keep us in servitude by believing that the power is somewhere else when it's always been with us.
Qu'on a entendu auparavant, venant en fait du Congo aussi, concernant le rôle important qui jouent les jeunes. May I now switch back into English? And by the way, if you haven't noticed, this is a bit of a moving feast, so apologies if we get some of this wrong, because we're having some new leaders coming in, having to leave. We understand that it's an important day. President Ruto, thank you.
So I put my ballot in, but so it got misread, but then what was happening?
Put it in there.
Yeah.
And tonight a Republican and a Democrat will sit and go through all of the misread ballots all over the county.
Okay.
And count them. And it will get counted.
Okay. And
okay.
Then both machines were not working. Yeah.
No, nothing's working in the last half hour. Nothing.
Thank you.
I'm white. I'm black. I'm yellow. I'm red.
I'm gay.
And I am the Drizzle, host of Grand Theft World Liberty Radio. Look, man, here's the deal. If you're not listening to Liberty Radio, then you've got a problem with yourself.
Getting that shot really was an amazing feeling. It hits you.
Yeah, we're trying to get that fixed.
So no machines at this center are working at all?
Right.
Okay, and this is the, what station is this? Okay, this is the Central Christian Church, and none of the machines are working, and they are telling us that we have to leave. And so this is now happening here at this voting station also. At Central Christian, they're not letting you vote. You have to go to a different spot.
Is that the numbers in these exits do not line up with what we were seeing in the polling data going into this election about what people cared about and the order in which they ranked it. So we have had a lot of questions throughout this time about new voters, people that hadn't been in there before that were perhaps not getting captured by the polling. So maybe this is a sign that we're going to see a little bit more of that tonight than we expected. We obviously don't know yet.
And you know what's missing from this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top 5 issues? Democracy.
Oh, yeah.
It's not even in here. It's not to say that it's not an issue for people, but it doesn't even come close.
Well, I do think that we're keeping an eye on that one.
That's good. But you see, that's our first votes, and that's the wonder of democracy, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. And I wanted to point that out to be a little bit of the crank in the room following Breonna there. Stay off social media, people, if you're trying to figure out, are there really issues with votings? Trust your local officials. Trust us here. Trust a news source that you know and trust to be honest about this. They're doing their jobs and they're doing it right. So what was Breonna just talking about? She was talking about Cobb County, Georgia. That
We launched this campaign almost 2 years ago, and we had our slogan. It's on every one of those signs right now. Every county, every vote. Every county, every vote. And that's exactly what happened. We jammed them up. We held the line. I never expected that we were going to turn these red counties blue, but we did what we needed to do. And we had that conversation across every one of those counties. And tonight, that's why I'll be the next U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania. Thanks to all of you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you so much. That made me this grateful right now, and I want to thank, of course, all these supporters, all across Pennsylvania, all in this room, all across the nation, everyone that chipped in $10 to help us get here. Thank you. And
there is a major media outlet, there is a major news channel that is fueling political violence in this country, and we're acting like it's normal. It's not normal. Like, I can tell you 110%, one of the largest sources of death threats that I get is Tucker Carlson.
Wow.
Every time that dude puts my name in his mouth, the next day, I mean, this is like what stochastic terrorism is. It's like this indirect, it's like when you use a very large platform to turn up the temperature and target an individual until something happens. And then when something happens, because it's indirect, you say, oh, I had nothing to do with that. Right. Tucker Carlson, God forbid anything happens, he plays a massive role in political violence. Like, it comes on his doorstep specifically.
Are you with anybody?
You know what? I'm with the citizens of Earth, every person who stands against fascism worldwide, all of the victims of police brutality, all the victims of slavery and colonialism and imperialism, every single person who's died, men, women and children. Those eggs are the only justice that they're ever going to see for all of the people who've died, so that that man can wear a crown and we can all sit there and clap. It's a disgrace. People think I'm disgusted because I won't bow to someone who was best friends with Jimmy Savile. These guys here work for him.
Where are you from?
I'm from Earth. I'm a citizen of Earth. That's all I'll ever be. Peace and love, that's what I'm about. But not for kings. Not for fucking kings. What?
The idea: make big polluters pay for climate damages in developing countries. For more, Euronews spoke to the European Commission President in Sharm el-Sheikh.
It is an important topic, and I'm happy that it is an agenda item this time at COP27. It was never before. So now it's important to sit down and really to define and sort out what is it, and then to look at the funding that is available. And I'm not speaking of the 100 billion that are for climate finance. There, the European Union is also doing its fair share, more than its fair share, with 23 billion. But I'm speaking about other funds we have to look at.
So central banks are also starting to understand nature has real value. Carbon, we already figured out. And carbon is moving very quickly into a system where it's going to be very close to a currency. Basically being able to take a ton of absorbed or sequestered carbon and being able to create a forward pricing curve with financial service architecture, documentation. I just came out of a meeting this morning how we're trying to accelerate that. To be quite honest, not to get very boring, but we're on financial topics and things, but they're going to be derivatives. And you need ISDA documentation if you want to trade a derivative in the marketplace. And all of this actually matters for nature as well. I'm going to quickly hand off, but again, I want to talk about value one more time, because the southern part of the world has value far greater than large elements of the northern part. And we start thinking about and putting prices on water, on trees, on biodiversity, we find, where does that sit? I'm doing a lot of work out of Asia, and I say that my next door neighbor, Indonesia, is the left lung of the world, and obviously Brazil's the right, and Africa, absolutely critical. And we need their natural capital as a system-based world more than we need that 66 billion we've got sitting in the basement of the Bank of England. So how do we, and I'm hoping this discussion today, at least from a central banker's point of view, on how do we start tokenizing, how do we start building systems that actually create not only the value, but transfer that value around the world.
Again, when do you anticipate the votes will be counted in total, those 400,000 plus votes?
Well, we will be going into next week. There's some onesie-twosies, again, pursuant to Arizona law, but I think that we'll see the lion's share here wrap up by early next week.
Early next week, can you give me a day? Are we talking Monday? Or we?
Maybe, as long as
How do you respond to the claims that your decisions of the Bush and Obama administrations led to unnecessary torture? You addressed in there, what you said was necessary, and you said y'all strive not to have any civilian deaths, but the documents leaked by Snowden show a whole other story, show the disposition matrix was not as accurate as you represented it, sir. How would you respond to the critics of you lying about surveillance, saying that there was no mass surveillance of Americans? That's on the record. And originally people didn't want you in the Obama administration because your ties to torture under the Bush administration. Now you've rehabilitated your character and become a hero to the left because of your anti-Trumpness. But what do you say to the critics who still care about America not being the police of the world and not doing rendition and torture and kidnapping of Americans? What about the people who've had to sue the U.S. government because they've been tortured? The people who have permanent rectal damage because of the torture that you approved? The people who have permanent shoulder damage because they've been tortured by the U.S. government under your decisions?
I would say get your facts right, because all your facts you've said right now are wrong.
No, they're not. The lawsuits are there.
If you need a single location to get cutting-edge information and keep up with the rapidly changing world around us, tune into Grand Theft World, where a forensic historian and a logic professor break down the week's news in depth and in context. There's a ton more there, so go check it out. And don't forget to get your Freedom Vault on the homepage.